Hello and welcome to another episode of the Catholic Talk Show. This is Ryan Delacrosse here with Father Rich and Ryan Shield. Hey guys.
How you doing?
Are you ready to rock? No.
Yes?
I'm ready to rock.
Ready.
Oh, you guys
I'm
are all
always
right. I'll
ready
be
to
down to rock with you guys today. So what are we rocking with, Shield?
So, today we're going to talk about the unlikely source of what many rock historians call the first Christian rock song. Now, what are you guys' feelings on like Christian rock?
I'm going to turn to Pope Francis. Let's see. No.
One of my favorite lines about Christian rock is that you're not making Christianity better, you're just making rock and roll worse.
Yeah. I like some worship music, some very little. If it draws your mind and heart to God, but it's a song. Yeah. It's like you got to play it over and it's just like
I've heard attempts. Not a big fan though.
Yeah. So, but rock and roll, I guess my thing with Christian rock, you shouldn't call there's like
it should be qualified as Christian rock. Like it's just rock and roll.
When you call something Christian, you're just like labeling it something instead of it being like just music.
Yeah. Good and true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is Switchfoot, what is Switchfoot considered?
I don't think it's considered Christian rock.
Rock, right?
I actually saw Switchfoot at a Catholic festival. So,
well, and I've seen him. I saw him at the Fillmore. Yeah. So but my stance is this: like, if you're making music and the music speaks about the human condition and the human heart, and it draws your mind to the true, the good, the beautiful, then you shouldn't have to label it as hey, when you listen to this, it's the good and true and beautiful. It's the Jesus
It should
song.
be self-evident.
Right. Like Mumford & Sons, like I listen to some of their music and I'm like, wow, this is
lyrics
beautiful.
Are awesome and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Like they're not a Christian, Christian rock.
They don't market themselves as that. And I don't think Switchfoot does either. They're under genre alternative rock, pop rock, post-grunge, indie rock.
Yeah, and I get it. You got to have a genre. That's what the categorical stuff that's going on in music, and that's fine. You want to look for something in a certain genre. But to me, it's just music.
Sure. Like Avett Brothers, another example.
Yeah,
just
man.
good, true, and beautiful
wow.
without
just beautiful songwriting, man.
So do you know who does not, I don't think in many people's mind would fit in with those bands that we just talked about?
Beastie Boys.
No, we're not talking about the Beastie Boys. So
darn it. Yo.
So I think the band
that sleep till Brooklyn.
Oh, this is an Italian New York thing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it is. Better believe it.
Just put your
your
head down. So what a lot of rock historians call the first Christian rock song comes from a band, and the singer is probably the person most people would think would be most diametrically opposed to it.
And the name of the band.
That's right. And that is
diametrically opposed to it.
That's Ozzy Osbourne, Black Sabbath.
Yeah.
Now, people are probably out there like, what?
Oh my gosh. No. Well, we were too. The reason we're doing this show, to give you guys a background on it, is we were out here shooting some episodes and we were on the balcony of the apartment, and he brought that up, and there was a group of guys there, and we're just like, no
way.
Shut up.
I was shocked. I was totally blown out of the water hearing Shield give us this amazing dissertation on Black Sabbath and the Catholic faith.
And we're going to transmit that to you guys today and allow you to come into that whole
It's pretty interesting.
That was rocked my world. And, I think very differently I never really had a thought one way or another of it's just music, so.
But when people think of Ozzy, they think of biting the head off of a bat or snorting a line of ants or, the crosses and Black Sabbath and, Protestant preachers saying, this is the devil music. You play it backwards, they're telling you to worship Satan. And really, it couldn't be further from the truth. The guys of Black Sabbath were all raised, and during the period of the band, were were Catholic. They were Catholics from Birmingham, England.
Man, I mean, that just blows my mind. It should be blowing your mind right now. And we're gonna kind of dive into that too, because a lot of you guys are probably like we were. You're like, what?
Do what now?
Say what?
Say huh? Now, I mean, if you look through the thread of their music, I mean, there is just countless times where they're talking about supernatural and God and Satan, but it's never a
negative.
It's never a glorification. It's a warning against darkness.
Yep.
And they were writing music. They were post-war babies. After World War II, they grew up very poor in a very rough industrial part of England. It was during the Vietnam War. There's just a lot of darkness in the world, and their music was an attempt to, I guess, speak to the darkness that they saw in the world. The name Black Sabbath is not some kind of satanic ritual. It's after a Boris Karloff movie.
Really?
Yeah.
What movie is that? Boris Karloff. That was the name of it.
It's called Black Sabbath.
What was the movie about?
What was it about?
I don't know.
Oh.
But the band was originally called Earth, and then
Earth.
Welcome to Earth.
Earth. But I think there's some kind of copyright issue, so they had to change their name.
Because God has a copyright on Earth.
He does. Most countries.
Pay him tribute.
And they had to change their name. And one of the band had a poster of this movie. It was a horror movie of Boris Karloff. He's Frankenstein and whatever.
Oh.
But they had a poster, and it's a movie he was in called Black Sabbath. So they're like, I don't know, that's cool. That's a good name for a band. So that's where they got their name from, not because of like a glorification of
the satanic ritual.
Right.
Explicitly, the satanic ritual. Yeah,
and that's it.
I mean, again, I'm just kind of agnostic to the whole thing.
Yeah, and I really have no idea about, because let me just say this: Black Sabbath was not my bag, baby. Not my bag. No.
Definitely you're into rap rock.
I was into rap rock.
It's called rap rock.
Rap rock. New rock. NU rock.
Yeah, I was listening to No Limit Soldier and Master P and Ghetto D back in the day.
EPMD, DRE.
So I mean,
a lot of letters there.
There's a lot of Black Sabbath songs that really talk about, faith and spirituality. The song that they named themselves after was the song Black Sabbath, right?
Okay.
I think actually they named the song after the poster, and then when they had to change their name, they're like, well, let's just name it after the song too. But it's really, the song Black Sabbath is about being terrified of demons and wanting to run from them. Okay. That's not a glorification. That's a warning and an inner fear of theirs, right?
Yeah.
They had the song War Pigs, and War Pigs was about
and we're gonna play some of these songs, right? We're gonna
we can play some
kind of get into some of the lyrics and things like that. So
so War Pigs was about the military industrial complex and how it was unethical to support war. And they were the lyrics are very that God is going to judge people who are supplying military arms and causing people to get into wars. Let's see if
what do they call that sin? The right. What do they call it when you make other people sin?
Complicit.
Complicit. Yeah.
Let's see if we can get that.
Now in darkness, world stops turning. Ashes where the body's burning. No more war pigs have the power. And as God has struck the hour, day of judgment, God is calling. On the knees, the war pigs crawling, begging mercies for the sins. Satan laughing spreads his wings. Oh, Lord, yeah.
So, I mean, those lyrics are, I mean, that's pretty clear that he's saying that.
Well, just read them. So
right. So the lyrics are, now in darkness, the world stops turning. Ashes where the body's burning, which is obviously, nuclear weapons and destruction of people through greed and the lust of power. No more war pigs have the power because, earthly powers always lose their power. They always do. And hand of God has struck the hour. So he's saying the time has come. God is casting judgment on these people. And day of judgment, God is calling. On their knees, the war pigs are crawling, begging mercy for their sins. Satan, laughing, spreads his wings.
Oh, pretty Christian.
It's pretty Christian. I mean, it's
very
really
straightforward, anti-war, anti-violence. And, that's fascinating. I would have never imagined, unless you slow it down, we actually listen to the lyrics and...
Yeah, and a lot of songs, like you hear people saying, like Pearl Jam is a perfect example. You're like, what is he saying? And you're singing it. And
Pearl Jam is a perfect example of that. It's just like, say, he's a total mushmouth.
Yeah. No, but I mean, it's sometimes, that's what a song sounds like. But the lyrics there are very straightforward.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of examples in Black Sabbath's music of things like that, where they're really talking about pretty fundamental Christian, concepts that there's sin, there's evil, there's darkness, and then there's also God, and he is just, and the people who are doing evil things get punished for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's not a Matt Maher song.
Right.
It's not Audrey Assad.
And Matt's cool. I know Matt. Like, it's
right. But I mean, it's a different perspective on Christology. It's not a worship song, but it is very much in line with, the Christian ethos.
Yeah.
But the one song that really is, I think, unmistakably Christian in its lyrics, that Black Sabbath even got kind of, I think at the time they released this song, Rolling Stone said, what is this Christian crap you're trying to push on us, right?
Yeah.
So the main lyricist of the band was the bass player, Geezer Butler. Now, he was hardcore Catholic. He talks in a lot of interviews about how he was raised strictly Catholic, and a lot of the lyrics, of the songs that he wrote were, about Christianity. And the one song that I think that we were going to talk about is that first Christian rock song is a song called "After Forever," off of their album Masters of Reality.
That was their first album.
No, this is like their third or fourth album.
Oh, okay.
So here's the song.
Have you ever thought about your soul? Can it be saved? Or perhaps you think that when you are dead, you just stay in your grave. Is God just a thought within your head, or is it part of you? Is Christ just a name that you read in the book when you were in school?
I mean, that's the first, verse of the song. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. And the lyrics are, have you ever thought about your soul? Can it be saved? Or perhaps you think that when you're dead, you just stay in your grave. Is God just a thought within your head, or is he part of you? Is Christ just a name that you read in a book when you were in school? I mean,
hey, if you're going to do rock and roll, man,
this is the way to do it.
That's it, man. It's really kind of cool rock and roll, too.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, Black Sabbath's awesome.
Yeah.
Good band.
They're ripping it up.
Great band.
Yeah.
Let's listen a little more.
When you think about death, do you lose your breath or do you keep your cool? Would you like to see the Pope on the end of a rope? Do you think he's a fool? Well, I see the truth, yes, I see the light, and I've changed my ways. And I'll be prepared when you're lonely and scared at the end of our days.
Rich is headbanging.
Could it be you're afraid of what your friend might say? Then you believe in God above. They should realize before they criticize that God is the only way to love.
So, I mean, again, those lyrics are, when you think about death, do you lose your breath or do you keep your cool? Would you like to see the Pope on the end of the rope? Do you think he's a fool? Well, I've seen the truth. Yes, I've seen the light, and I've changed my ways, and I'll be prepared when you're lonely and scared at the end of our days.
Merciful.
Wow.
I mean, this is like the early 70s. I mean, that's a pretty radically, very clear Christian message by a huge rock and roll band. I mean, it kind of took a lot of balls to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm just picturing myself in middle school and high school and seeing people with Black Sabbath t-shirts on and being like, that's definitely not my style.
I don't think you guys really are listening to the lyrics.
Yeah, like definitely not. Yeah, some of the guys that I grew up with, like, no, I don't think they were listening.
When I was really young, I was like, I heard Black Sabbath. I'm like, that's scary. And like the kids who listen, are like, no, those are burnouts, man. Those are,
Yeah, that's great, man.
Yeah, that's wild. Thanks for opening our eyes and ears.
Yeah.
Check out the rest of the lyrics, Ryan. You can read them. Why don't you read them off for us in that rich Italian baritone, or actually even better yet, singing like Ozzy.
Where are you at the third stanza here?
Stanza, the Ricky stanza.
Could you be afraid? Could you be afraid of what your friends might say? No. Could you be afraid of what your friends might say if they knew you believe in God above? They should realize before they criticize that God is the only way to love. Is your mind so small that you have to fall in with the pack wherever they run? Will you still sneer when death is near and say they may as well worship the sun? Wow.
It's excellent. Yeah. God is the only way to love. That lyric jumped out, and I was just looking at Sheil like,
look at this. Listen to this. I think it was true. It was people like you that crucified Christ. I think it is sad the opinion you had was the only one voiced. Will you be so sure when your day is near? Say you don't believe. You had the chance, but you turned it down. Now you can't retrieve. Perhaps you'll think before you say that God is dead and gone. Open your eyes. Just realize that he's the one. This whole thing is like,
it's like 15-year-old fan fiction about God.
Right. The only one who can save you now from all this sin and hate, or will you still jeer at all you hear? Yes, I think it's too late.
Pass the lyrics over this way.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's just a couple, right? There's like several.
Oh yeah, I mean, they have a song specifically about abortion. It's called
but it's written in a beautiful way about the potential of the child.
It's called the Spiral Architect.
Yeah.
And it's about, how this child, never sees the light of day. And now it's like, the choices are being made for him by outside people. And that this, embryo is just limitless, and guiltless. And its decisions are being made for it.
Right.
I mean, this coming from Black Sabbath. So it's pretty... it's from Ozzy, man. He's like, shuffled around. You guys ever watch that show?
I watched a couple episodes.
I watched
man.
a couple episodes.
That guy, he just looked like a lunatic, but he's not.
Yeah,
he's not. He's a good. I mean, that's good music.
Well, I mean,
in terms of like the message.
Now, it was the bass player who wrote most of the lyrics, but I mean, they were all Catholics. They were.
Well, I mean, they all got together and
and
performed around this stuff.
That's crazy. The last word. Perhaps you'll think before you say that God is dead and gone, open your eyes, just realize that he's the only one who can save you now from all this sin and hate. Or will you still jeer at all you hear? Yes, I think it's too late. And you think about, what if this was used in a different, sound or, like some monks chanting.
Yeah, if this was if this was like, a suburban parish, folk band that does the music, then would you still think that God isn't?
No, it just doesn't work. I think it works with that.
Right.
It's like straightforward, hit you in the eyes, boom.
And that's why the message has to appear at many dimensions. It has to be delivered on so many different platforms. When Jesus sent out the 72, when Jesus sent out the apostles, when Jesus continues to commission us, he's sending us out to our respective places of employment, to our families, to the different social groups and people we hang out with to bring that message to all people. And it has to be deliverable on every type of level. And I would have never realized that again, the message is being delivered through Black Sabbath.
Yeah, never guessed it.
I would have never guessed it.
Yep.
But that's the type of stuff we need to do. We need to be creative and we need to be
I mean, you got to meet people where they're at. A lot of times I think the church gets one-dimensional in the way that they try to approach people, and it's a one-size-fits-all type of pastoral approach, but people are in all different walks of life. And if you're not accompanying them and really getting into their I guess, situation, you're never going to reach them. You're not going to reach people who would potentially be listening to Black Sabbath by, playing 60s folk rock. It's just not going to happen, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, another thing too, which is really cool is like God gives you gifts and talents, right? And to use to build his kingdom. I mean, because then you find real meaning in your life because now you're like, you created me this way. I'm using this. The way you fashioned me, I'm using it. Right. And fruit is born through that, hopefully. And so, that's their gift. Mm-hmm. Their gift is songwriting and rock and I don't even know. Is that rock and roll? I mean, it's just like
Sabbath,
borderline metal.
I mean, it's metal, but it's,
doom
rock.
Yeah. I mean, so many people were inspired by that band.
Oh yeah.
I mean, every metal band that came after owes their inception to Black Sabbath. There's without a doubt.
That's what I was gonna say without really knowing is like, did they kind of start that?
They started heavy metal.
Yeah. Yeah. Their album cover's pretty funny. It's like this big bubbly writing, Black Sabbath. You're like, what? Artists, they were not. Graphic designers.
Yeah. So, I mean, and the guitar player, Tony Iommi, he's, now old, 70 or whatever, but he just recently wrote a full choral piece for a mass setting for a church in England.
Wow. Wow.
It's pretty cool stuff too.
Have you heard it before?
I have. I've heard parts of it. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but it's actually pretty good. It's called "How Good It Is."
How good it is.
How good it is.
How good it is.
How good it is.
When did he write that?
A few years ago. Check it out. Here, I got you.
You got it on. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is the bass guitarist.
This is the lead guitar player.
Okay.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather hear that when I go to mass than the stuff that I hear.
That's gorgeous.
I mean,
that's really, well, maybe the choral arrangement was.
I mean, would you rather hear that or Lord of the Dance, Padre?
Come dance in the forest, come play in the trees. Bring your bathing suit, your flip-flop bikinis.
Remix.
Yeah, that whole song that he wrote, or the choral arrangement, is based off of Psalm 133. Mm-hmm. This guy's a Black Sabbath, so it's. I think it's really interesting. Number one, that Black Sabbath were Catholics. They wrote music that was very Christ-centered and oriented
and pungent,
and it was really in the mix of it, and they still are to this day. And I think more than anything, I think this episode would be a good a way for us to tell you that there's a lot of places where Christ is permeating the culture if you're out looking for it and not just keeping on looking in the same areas that you always would typically look.
Yeah. I have to say it's a great debate between communal song at Mass and polyphony, for example, or 4-part harmonies. And is it a place for people to be entertained, or is it for a place for people to participate? And Vatican II and the documents "Sing to the Lord" that was put out by the Church, it all calls us to a full, active, and conscious participation at Mass. And a lot of people interpret that as everybody should be singing. Well, we know that there's a lot of people, like you said before, out there with many, many gifts, but some of those gifts do not entail someone to have a great voice.
Yeah, that would be me. A lot of people quote St. Augustine. They say, he who sings prays twice, but that's not the quote. It's he who sings well prays twice.
Well, you know what?
Ryan, you don't have double the power.
No.
Well, it just means the people he gives that gift to aren't as prayerful as me.
You have to pray twice as hard to meet Father Rich's beautiful voice.
But you know, for me,
I know I hear it every morning. Sinatra and all kinds of.
I wake up to the 30s and 40s. Every day.
Great. So insipidly bright and sunshiny.
Some Bill Withers. We were listening to Lovely Day. Lovely day. Oh man, this is great to start your day that way. But I'm inclined to say that when someone comes into the church, they want to be moved by the transcendentals of truth, beauty, and goodness. And that needs to be delivered in every different, capacity of the people gathering. So choral music, when done well, is truly inspiring because it communicates truth, but it has a character of being so beautiful. So you think of polyphony in that way, and what we just heard, it moves your heart. And the more effort that's put into preparation for a particular Sunday Mass, or certainly like a solemnity, like Christmas or Easter, that's precisely what we need to be doing more effectively as often as possible. And the churches across the board get criticized Catholic Church for very bad music.
Yeah.
Bad music. Where it
is very bad. Sometimes it's pretty bad.
And I personally love communal hymns too. Yeah. I do love when everybody is singing, and especially the Gloria. Oh my goodness, when the Gloria is done. But there's been so many Glorias that I've heard. I remember serving at a church. I won't name the parish so I don't hurt anybody's feelings. But it was like I was in like a sleazy, lounge where everybody's smoking cigarettes. And it's like,
Gloria.
No, it's like, glory to God, a glory to God, a glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace to a people of good will. The boom, ding, the boom, the boom, the boom, boom. And the guy's like standing there with his tail to the congregation, and he's just shaking like, glory to God.
Oh man, that's a performance.
It was so distracting. It's like this should be. I want to lift up my voice communally with everybody, singing glory to you, God, in the highest. And all I could think about is this guy smoking cigarettes, like in the lounge.
Sometimes I get the impression that the musicians at church are just frustrated musicians who couldn't hack it in the real world of playing in bands. So they're like, well, I could go and play in the church because no one else would do it, and they can't kick me out.
Yeah,
and it's like you're turning Mass into your weekly performance.
True,
and chances are, you probably kind of suck.
Yeah,
if you're playing in a church, either you're really great and you're working, in a great parish, but if you're in
or you're giving of time.
Yeah, if you're playing the Arby's Catholic Employee Chapel, you're probably not a great musician,
And to contrast that too, there's people out there that are getting paid major bucks, and they come in with these opera voices, and they're singing like it's an opera performance.
Right.
That equally does the same. It's distracting. There are people in our community. They may not be the greatest, but their pitch is perfect. Their pitch is on par.
The pitch is
it's good. I wouldn't say pitch perfect, but their pitch is good. They emphasize very well with a good singing voice. But the greatest gift they have is that they actually lift up their voice to God.
Right.
Yeah.
And those are cantors.
Yeah.
And there are cantors in our midst. There's cantors in our churches, in every single church. I'm confident to say that because God would not have a church in the world without those gifts.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes, people don't respond to the call.
Yeah, or they're squashed. By the band.
Oh, yeah.
This is our turf. Yeah. This is our lounge.
My daughter and I went to Mass at this one church. Love the church. Love the people there. But they have like a drum set, and this is like a bass player, and he's playing like a pointy red bass, and he's like, and my daughter looks at me, she's like, Dad, I don't want to come here next week. She's like, can we please go downtown to the Latin Mass? I'm like, Chloe, dude, it's like an hour away, and it's like 8 a.m. I don't know. Yeah. And she's like, Dad, I can't go here. All I hear is these musicians, and that's the whole thing, and I'm not getting anything out of this. So next Sunday, wake up nice and early, drive her all the way down there, and we sat there, and she goes, well, that was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I'm definitely more traditional in respect to even the location of the choir. So, having them in the back of a cruciform parish where they're in a choir loft, and the movement of music is being guided from the back of the church toward the altar.
Not a performance, but a praise.
Yes, and we are offering this service on behalf of all of the people in front of us. So there isn't distraction from the guy who plays the bass. Maybe there is a bass guitarist there. Or maybe there's a great organist, but he's a passionate organist, so he's moving a lot and he's, closing his eyes, like Stevie Wonder, whatever. But that it should never be a distraction. When they're placed in a location where they aren't distracting from the altar, the whole focus and the movement of music should be directed toward the altar. And then it's an accompaniment and it magnifies the Lord.
But a lot of churches aren't like that anymore.
No.
No. And
especially in Florida, a number of churches are more.
Yeah, there's so many churches where there's the altar and the sanctuary, and then there's some additional seats, and then the band, and it's like,
yeah. So, but I mean, all this being said, Black Sabbath's
pretty cool.
It's pretty cool, and obviously these guys having an encounter with the sacred to offer back to God from the love that they receive, offer back to God their gifts and talents, even late in their life to write a mass, a beautiful one at that.
Yeah, I have no ability to know.
Beautiful.
I have no ability to know if they're still practicing, what their fidelity is, and I don't care. I'm not getting into people's lives.
Well, we're all practicing Catholics. Nobody's like
right. So I don't. I can't. This is not meant to speak on their soul or how good or not good of a Catholic they are. Yeah. I don't like getting into that, especially like with celebrities, because
you see a lot of stuff in the news, and trying to
like this celebrity was at a mass, and then people say, "Oh, well, they're not good. They did this or that," and it's like,
this is the movie they did, or this is the song they did, or this one time this happened, and
I don't get into all that.
I call that the ninny patrol. You start judging people like a ninny. Oh no, you know what he did in 1987? There's no way he's Catholic. No way.
Right. Yeah. So
it's a shame.
That's that's just I know this is going to be a quick episode, but it was just a cool way to show something that you can find really deeply meaning, really deep, Christ-centered messages in really unexpected places.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, guys, give us some ratings on iTunes. Go on iTunes and give us a nice little 5-star. What up? And give us some feedback. We love providing this service to you. We love that you're taking the time out of your busy schedules to listen and journey with us and share from the beautiful fruits of our faith.
Did you say to listen to Journey with us?
Yeah,
this was about Black Sabbath, not Journey.
Oh, is that?
Oh, we should get into
it. It's a surprise second segment.
But they did say don't stop believing. And
don't stop believing.
All right. See you next episode, guys.
Hold on to that feeling. I can't hit that high note. Peace.